Let me give you my best side. There we go. All right, so those of you that were here before, I'll just do a little recap about what we went over, because it was really fun. The law of intentionality was first, and a couple of important questions. Life is in session. Are you present? I mean, what are you doing? I mean, are you paying attention? Does anybody know what diminishing intent is? The longer you wait to do something you know you should do, the less likely you will ever do it. So honestly, if there's a chance to take one step today that you maybe should have taken or wanted to take yesterday, didn't quite get it done, but you have an opportunity to take just one step today that advances you a little bit further down your path, I'd recommend you take it. Just try it. Just try it. You may be surprised at how good it feels. A mistake is simply another way of doing things, and you certainly can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction. So that was the law of intentionality, kind of being in the moment, understanding why you do what you do, questioning yourself on why you do certain things, and not letting yourself off as easy as maybe you used to. I don't know about you, but I do that all the time. The law of awareness, do you have a sense of direction? Do you know why you're doing what you're doing? You have a sense of direction, Frank, don't you consider that you do? Absolutely, you do. Passion and purpose, there's a direct correlation between finding a passion and achieving your dreams or achieving your goals. If you can find, what is the old expression? If you can get somebody to pay you for what you love to do, you never work a day in your life. And that's the truth. So just finding something that kind of stirs you, kind of gets you pumped up in the morning and out the door is pretty important. You can't win if you don't start. Most of the accomplishments I've achieved in my life, I began to attempt before I was really ready. And one of the best things that my takeaway from the John Maxwell certification was learn to suspend the belief in knowing how. Go ahead and try it. You didn't know how to ride a bike when you first rode a bike. You really didn't know how to walk and talk. You didn't understand reading or writing until somebody taught you, but you tried. You went ahead and gave it a go. And that's really the important thing, is to try something even if it doesn't turn out great. Because we can learn, right? Okay. The two greatest days in a person's life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. That's my biggest takeaway at all of this. So for me, speaking, teaching, things like that, just as you, Robin, you have a heart for this. This has been my passion, and I finally was able to realize that major goal of being a certified John Maxwell, because I really believe in what he's trying to teach us to do, which is to develop ourselves as leaders, to lead our own life more effectively, and then help grow leaders around us. People that think the same way or trying to achieve the same type of deal. And we'll move on to the law of the mirror. You must see value in yourself and add value to yourself. You know, good, healthy self-esteem is probably the most important thing. Developing self. I have one handout today, Frank.
Okay.
What do you see when you're looking at it? Good, Frank.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody here know Ron Ledbetter? You know Ron Ledbetter.
I do.
Okay, so I've heard Ron say 100 times over the years, and he's a great mentor for me in my life. You know, Ron is tall, and he has no shoulders, and he has a big waist, and he has a bald head and a big jaw. He looks like a gigantic egg on stilts. He does, but he will tell you that when he looks in the mirror, he sees a guy with a head full of hair, broad shoulders, and narrow waist, and that's what he sees. And he's lived his life according to that vision, not the vision that others may put upon him, the vision he sees in himself. I don't think I've ever met somebody who carries himself with more confidence and wisdom and knowledge and caring than Ron Ledbetter. So it's just a lesson. What you see is what you get. So however you see yourself, you know, and this isn't all sunshine and skittles, we certainly understand that. But the important thing is to, if you're not having positive thoughts about yourself, try and work on that a little bit. So as you develop yourself, personal development is your belief that you're worth the time, the effort, and energy to improve yourself. You're worth it, okay? And there's nothing better that you can do for yourself. And you get the chance to be anybody you want to be. we see stories every day about people that have had hardships. They were born into hardships, or they've faced really, really difficult times in their life, and yet somehow they never would give up. Or they found a way, they found a toehold somewhere that helped them crawl out of the abyss that they were in, make better decisions about their life and the people that love them, and then conquer their fears, which is really what growth is all about. We have a tendency not to want to grow because the status quo feels comfortable. And yet if we just step a little bit outside that status quo, we'll find that what does Zig Ziglar say? You go as far as you can see, and then you'll see farther. He was the best.
Yeah.
A look in the mirror. Your view of yourself determines behavior, and you will never outperform your self-image. That's also the law of the lid that John talks about. You cannot exceed your level of leadership in growth. You just can't do it. So whatever you believe about yourself, that's what you'll see. If you want to see different things, I mean, it sounds simple to say that if you want to affect change in your life, you have to change the things that you're doing. But it's the truth. Even if it's one small step, it doesn't really matter to me whether you climb Mount Everest, but I think I talked about this last time I was here. The most dangerous part of climbing Mount Everest is coming down. Because after, 2 days, 3 days, or whatever it is, and taking a half a day to go 100 feet to the top, man, going down, you got to be a little exhausted, right? And now it's all downhill from there. One slip is all it takes. So really, the focus is where it's at. The value you put on yourself is the value that others will put on you. We teach people how to treat us, right? So whatever value we put on ourselves, believe me, the general public is not going to increase the price. We need to. If we want people to see more value in us, we have to provide more value to ourselves, which will in turn provide more value to others. Be nice, especially to yourself. Anybody here have a tendency to berate themselves when they make mistakes or are not happy? Or I was a big beat 'em up guy. When I was in the restaurant business, I beat myself up so bad my manager would come by and say, I don't need to beat you up, you're doing too good a job yourself. But it was all about wasting my time in self-pity and believing that I projected an image of being busy and hardworking by being hard on myself. And it's not that you shouldn't hold yourself accountable, because certainly that's an important part of life. But to waste time berating yourself, I mean, holy mackerel, there's 200-300 people you haven't even met yet that are ready to work you over in your life. And yet you stand at the front of that line. Get out of line. Be nice. Say something nice to yourself today. Even if you don't mean it. Try it. Say it to yourself. Reaffirm something that you've done well. Okay. Some of the steps to building good self-esteem. Watch your self-talk. Anybody in here ever talk to themselves? I say thank heavens for Bluetooth in my car, because now I can talk to myself like I always do and people think I'm on the phone. So it's real handy for me. But whether you know it or not, you've got a conversation going on with yourself all the time, 24 hours a day. It's usually in your brain, but if you say it out loud, it will become more self-affirming. So if the first answer is always no, why didn't it happen? Because you're lazy, stupid, you can't, it's your brain trying to tell you that, don't do this, we don't like it, we don't like to stretch, we don't like to grow, and you can reprogram your brain. It takes some time, but even if you try one positive thing to say a day to yourself, believe me, it will help. Stop comparing yourself to others. The only person you can really compare yourself is to you. Because you're the only one that lives inside of you, right? The only person you have any responsibility over truly is yourself. Now we have children, we have relatives, we have friends, all that others. All those are extraneous, and they're external, and they're important. But how you deal with yourself is going to improve every single relationship you have in your life, if you'll try and do it in a positive way. Add value to others. My favorite thing to do is call people by their name when they're wearing a name tag, wherever I am. I love doing that, because they light up. Hardly anybody ever is nice to the cashier. They're buying gum and, did you lick that? That was great. I love that thing. So When you're out somewhere and you have a waiter, when the waiter says, "Hi, I'm Jill, and I'll be taking care of you today." "Hi, Jill. How you doing?" Say hi, and try and remember that. Refer to their name a couple of times throughout the meal. "No, Jill, no more water, but thank you. We'll just take the check. Thanks, Jill." So it really will empower them to be more attentive to you. It should improve the service that you get. Henry Ford said, "Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right." So, you're going to do whatever it is you want to do. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and there were certain accidents, but most of the mistakes I made, I knew there were mistakes when I was making them. I made them anyway. Hard-headed, I'm human. That's what it is. I haven't, Zig Ziglar used to say, I intentionally gained 30 pounds because I never accidentally ate anything in my life. And that's the truth. When a person puts a limit on what they will do, it puts a limit on what they can do. Is that a fair statement? Yeah. If you absolutely won't do it, if you know yourself, you know what you will or won't do. There's all kinds of options for every scenario that faces us. It's hard to do the right thing all the time, but it's always the right thing to do, right? Okay, so I was going back through the book today, and I find something every time I do it, and I wrote these things down. You want to celebrate small victories. So if you're doing something right, man, acknowledge that for yourself. That's really good. And we have a tendency to want to outweigh the good things that we're doing because they seem insignificant, or we're doing way less of the good things, we think, than the things that aren't advancing our growth. And that's not necessarily the truth. So every small victory you have, applaud yourself. And it says, celebrate small victories. What do you think and say to yourself after a victory? And a lot of people, let's see if any of these sound familiar. Well, it's about time. I didn't do as much as I should have. That won't make a big difference. And it's hopeless. I'll never succeed. Have you ever heard those things come out of your mouth? How about this? It's good that I did that. I did the right thing. Good for me. Every little bit helps. And I'm that much closer to success. Imagine trying to just change one of those phrases in how you relate to what would be considered a failure, but it's just a misstep. A mistake, again, is just another way of doing things. I'm a happy failure. I hope I'm making mistakes. Of course, not where Angela is concerned. But steps to building your self-esteem. Do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing. I'll tell you a little story about when I was selling life-form homes. I was in Hayden's Run, and I worked with a local agent who'd been a very well-experienced agent. They'd come out 3 different times over a 2-week period, and I knew they were coming in Saturday to write the contract. Well, it turned out the guy that was writing the contract he was buying the house, he was a lawyer. And back in the mid-1990s, lawyers could get a commission on a real estate transaction without being a real estate lawyer. Now it's changed, but there was no deference to that. So we write the entire contract, and at the end, we're on the last page, and I've got Mimi's name. Well, I just blew it who it was. It's somebody that I work with now. I had her name on there, and he said, no, that needs to change to my name. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, I want to get the commission. I said, no. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. I said, so I'm looking at her and I'm looking at him. I said, you're going to cut her out of the transaction? She's been here 3 different times over 2 weeks. Is that what you're telling me? And he said, that's right. I said, I won't write the contract. And I didn't write it up. And I don't know, I could have been fired, I assume, but it didn't happen that way. And I wouldn't do it. It just didn't, that was awful. I don't know where the guy bought a house, but I'm glad he wasn't in my neighborhood because I would have had to see him for the next 18 months. Not that I'd feel uncomfortable, it's just that I don't like him. So doing the right thing is not always easy, but it's always the right thing. So whenever you can, and don't expect perfection. Are we going to slip and fall? Got plenty of Bactine and Band-Aids in my car. Practice a small discipline daily. Right now, I'm trying to do 30-second planks every morning. Yeah, well, I'm 62. If I let my core completely go, I'll have a bad back. I'm too young to have a bad back. That's not what I want. So 30-second planks, and believe me, I'm huffing and puffing. They're not easy. I don't like them, but I do it. Zig used to say, I don't run because I like to run. I run because I like ice cream. Embrace positive images in your life and take responsibility for your life. You know, let yourself up a little bit. None of us gets out alive, right? So trying to make the most of while we're here, who we're with, and what we're doing is really, really important. Just trying incremental improvements. Anybody ever been to a Tony Robbins seminar?
Not yet.
100 times. He's telling us incremental steps, little tiny steps. Because what happens, you know, people walk out of there, and of course I'm dating myself now when they had books and tapes. Now it's all podcasts and all the rest of that sort of thing. But they'd walk out of there with binders and tapes and everything like that, and they're on fire. They've walked the coals. They're feeling great. You know, Tina Turner singing "You're Simply the Best" or whatever it is, and then you go home and your kids come home from school. And so you set it on the little kitchenette here, and then a couple of days later somebody needs to have a meal, and then it goes to the pass bar, and before you know it, it's in the hall closet. And 2 years later, it's in a garage sale. And Tony went back to San Diego, you know, before the ink was dry on your credit card receipt. And he's doing great. Come on in. Hi, Louise. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite people, Louise Beer.
All of our favorites.
It's hard to feel bad about yourself when you're doing something good for somebody else. It really is. You know, so that's another way to do a small victory. You know, is it taking a breath before you react, before you say something? You know, I'm opinionated, and my opinions are not always welcome. They may be always right, no, which they're not, but they're not always welcome, and I understand that, so I'm really trying to control that about myself, because I have a lot of confidence in my beliefs, and I'm not afraid to share them in a lot of ways, even though it's totally inappropriate. So for those of you that are sitting in the room with me, if I ever get inappropriate with my opinions, feel free to jerk a knot in my tail, as my grandma used to say. I have an assignment for you, and do it or don't do it, it's up to you. Make a list of all of your best qualities. Just make a list. Take your time. They're there. You have a lot of them. So make a list of them. And what do you think the most important thing to do with that list is?
Read it over and over.
Yeah, read it out loud every day. Make it part of that daily little ritual that you do to kind of get yourself psyched up. Maybe it's you're on your way out the door. Maybe it's when you first get up. Maybe it's in the shower, after the shower, or whatever. However you do it, when you gather yourself and get yourself revved up for the day, I recommend you start with those. Because living in your strengths is where it's at. Those are the God-given tools that you have that you've been able to capitalize on and use to help others, including yourself. So be aware of that and focus on those things and lift yourself up with that. Because then the negative things, the things that are considered weaknesses in your life, can affect positive change because your strengths are pulling them up. Spend a little time reading that list, and above all, what's one of my favorite expressions, Frank? Don't forget how good you are. It's true. Don't forget. I mean, I don't know anybody who hadn't done something nice in their whole life. I mean, even if you were 2 or 3 before you knew any better, before you really knew how to hurt people, you were doing nice things. So if that's all you got, let's hang on to that. All right, we move on to the law of reflection, which is learning to pause. Self-imposed pause, right there. Who in this room takes time every day to kind of reflect? Do you ever write it down?
I do. I keep it on my desktop.
Exactly. It's pretty important. Now, in the busy life of a real estate agent, it's hard to find that time, or at least give yourself allow yourself to have a respite of, I don't care if you start with 30 seconds. Start with 30 seconds. That's more than you were doing before. So take 30 seconds in a dark room or at the kitchen table or in your car or wherever you are toward the end of the day and try and think about what happened during the day. Reflect. Go over it again in your mind. And start with 30 seconds and build on that. Eventually it's awesome, and it only takes about 5 minutes. If you can get to 5 minutes of pure reflection, you won't believe how much better you feel. You're breathing better. You're breathing in and out. You're actually processing the things that happened for the day instead of running around putting out little fires all the time. which we all know we have to do because we're in the real estate business, right? There's little fires that pop up all the time. I have my little sand pail, and I put them out just like you do. But what I'm teaching myself now is that, reflecting on that, maybe I could have fewer fires to put out if I was a better thinker. I might not put myself in as many situations that have to be put out with the sand bucket if I was more thoughtful about what it is I'm doing. The power of pausing. Reflection turns experience into insight. Everybody needs a time and a place alone. And it's especially hard when you have kids, right? Because after, if we finally get them into bed, and then, how many agents have I talked to just in the last 30 days that said, I was up at 1:30 in the morning returning emails. If you're up at 1:30 in the morning returning emails, I'm not criticizing you for that. But if you're up if you're up at 1:30, you might be able to find 5 minutes in the dark by yourself to think about what you're doing. So be up at 1:30. Great, awesome. Get your emails done, and then sit down and think about what you just did. Think about what you want to do. Think about how did the day go? This is what I wanted. This is what happened. I put them together. What should that look like starting tomorrow? And I'm telling you, you'll feel better. A weight will be lifted off of your shoulders because you're actually thoughtful. You feel like you are growing. That's a real growth experience that you can feel and measure and quantify. Okay, you expand your thinking, and especially if you're a leader. Are there any leaders in this room? Yeah, every one of you. You're leading your clients. You're leading your classes, the classes that you teach. They look to you for the guidance. So step forward, be that leader, be more thoughtful about how you lead your clientele, and believe me, they'll respond in a positive way. You think you're getting referrals now. Wait till you really laser in on them and what they're trying to achieve. And sometimes it's hard because we get busy. We're in a hurry. We're always in a hurry. Okay, the 4 I's are investigation, find meaning in each experience. Incubation, put your career in a slow cooker, in a crock pot. You can't ingest it all at once, so one of the parts of the reflection is to kind of jot some things down. And then over time, go back. Wait a week, wait a month, whatever it is, and start going back through some of those notes, and you'll find more clarity. Okay, what was I thinking here? What did that mean to me? Did I do anything with that? If not, okay, now I see it again. It looks like it's really good. Maybe I should try it. I'll give it a try. How about that? Illumination. Place value on your experiences. Man, ever pick up a hot pot when you were a kid? How many times?
Once.
Right. Man, learn from these experiences. Seriously, it's all this seems so simple, and it really is in the thought-provoking way. But don't let it become overwhelming. Nobody does it all at once. If you want to lose 30 pounds in one day, you're going to have to lose a leg.
Oh.
Illustration. Expand experiences into lessons. I can't stress enough the importance of just jotting some of your ideas down and reflecting on them later. Go back. See what you were thinking 6 months ago. Save them. One of the things one of my best takeaways is, you remember this one, Frank? Preparation, which is growth, plus attitude, plus opportunity, plus action, which is doing anything, equals luck.
Yeah.
And I've got it in my notes on my phone because I like to look at that all the time. All right, what am I doing? Notice that the only lucky thing you can do is throw the dollar in a penny slot and hit the wheel, and maybe you'll win. That's luck.
Say it again.
Are these things?
Preparation.
Preparation, which is growth, plus attitude, plus opportunity, plus action, which is doing something, equals luck. And I can send it to all of you if you like. If someone is going down the wrong road, he doesn't need motivation to speed up, he needs to stop. Have you ever heard the expression, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging? That's what you can't hurry your way out of that kind of trouble. First, stop. You want the right answer? What do you gotta do? Ask the right question. If you learn how to ask effective questions, you'll shorten the gap between wanting to get the listing agreement signed or the buyer's agreement signed and getting it signed. Know what you want to ask. Know what you want to come out of there with. Make sure that they understand too. Food for thought. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. I love that one. And you don't wait or rush yourself out of a crisis. You work yourself out of it. Can't be the faster you're going, the harder it is to do. Personal awareness questions. What is your biggest asset? You don't have to say it out loud in here, but if anyone wants to share what they consider their biggest asset, go ahead. Anybody?
Just being alive.
Yeah, that's a pretty good asset. I would say, yeah. Breathing in and out is all we do.
Unlimited opportunity, with that life gives us, so we can do anything.
Biggest liability. If you want to know, you got to know both sides of the coin. Now, for me, I'm blindly optimistic. Anybody ever take the DISC test?
Mm-hmm.
All right. A lot of high I's and high S's here, right? Yeah, that's me. Angela's a high D. I know that's hard for you to.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but I took the Harrison evaluation, which is like the DISC test on steroids. And it came out, the biggest thing they came out with is that you're blindly optimistic. Which means that, I open the door to see 4 foot of horse manure, I dive in looking for a pony. But also, my expectations and patience suffer because of that, because I'm always expecting people to do more, do better. I want the situation to be nicer, more friendlier, all that sort of thing. And so I can get my heart broken pretty easily being blindly optimistic, but it won't stop me. Because that's the way I like to view the world. I like to view the world optimistically. I think one of my best assets is that I have a good attitude. I don't apologize for it. Okay, here comes my kids hate it because I can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's rise and shine. It doesn't matter what time. I don't care. I'm up. I'm at them. Let's turn on the lights, floor back the covers, rise and shine. But here comes Mr. Chipper. And they aren't morning people. I'm a morning person, but I think I'm a night person too. I get a little toasty at 9 o'clock because if you get up at 5, rising and shining, you can get the glow is off by 8:30 or 9.
Yeah.
What is your biggest high? And what is your lowest low? Just think about those things. What really stirs you? What is it that right now is kind of trying to drag you down? Identify it, take it out in the backyard and light it on fire. See what you can do. Personal awareness questions. What is your most worthwhile emotion? For most people, I would say that would be love, but it's up to you. What's the least worthwhile emotion? You've heard my story about Angela and I. So mine was self-pity. I was using pity as a verb in my life at one point. So, what is your best habit? And what's your worst habit? What is the most fulfilling thing to you? Man. What is your most prized possession? And what do you not know about yourself yet? That's an interesting thought, isn't it? As I go about, maybe I'll learn something new about myself today. Wouldn't that be a kick? How long has it been since I opened myself up like that? Pretty cool. The journey will be with it, worth it, with it. Introspection is really, really important. You've come this far, don't slow down. And I will leave you with a great little expression from Henri Arnold. Hi.
Oh.
Look at this. This is the last thing, Robin. So here you go. The wise man questions himself, the fool others. Look to yourself first. That's where it all sits. That's where it all is. You want to do better? Be better. You want to feel better? Find a way. You don't want to feel bad anymore? Don't. Work on it actively, consciously. Identify whatever it is got you bugged or got you lit up, and stoke that fire and douse this one. You know, just lead yourself. Find a way to make every day something new and exciting. I mean, today I didn't know who was going to come to the class. It's a group of my favorite people. I got to meet Michael. He's new. And we're excited about that because hopefully I can squeeze some business out of him. But that's not really it. I mean, this is fun for me because I'm growing too. I got to tell you, the more I go through these books, and especially this one, it's great. I feel so much better because I'm really, you know, I'm not firing on all cylinders, but man, I'm using high-tech gas now. No more regular. I want to be charged up. I want to share excitement. I want other people to draw from me. Let me add value as others have done for me in my life. So as you go out and have a good day today, go out and have a good day today. That's it. Thank you.
All right.